What's up, everybody? My name is Josh LaFleur from Late Star Piano. Today, I want to talk about this book, What Every Pianist Needs to Know About Their Body. And this book is very beneficial for you because, especially if you're just starting out, or even if you're an experienced piano player, this dives into the anatomy and physiology of the human body and how it relates to playing the piano. So, this isn't like your typical piano book that has, it's like a lead sheet, like a bunch of chords, or some kind of song book, or even like a method book that teaches you how to play. It is more like some kind of scientific journal, like an anatomy book. And I'm just flipping through here to show you some of the pictures that they have inside the book. It's all about the anatomy of the body and how you should be, things like sitting down, how your hip joints and your femurs relate to the way you sit down, and the bench height. It has, there you go, there's a full picture of it, how you should be sitting down again. And then, of course, it goes into your upper body and your hand and your forearm and your wrist and how everything should be in its correct spot when you play. It talks about a super important concept here, ulnar deviation. It's basically when you're playing piano and your wrist turns out to your pinky side. So if you just hold your wrist straight out and then you turn it towards your pinky side, that's that deviation. That's what causes a lot of tension in your wrist. That's what can cause carpal tunnel syndrome and inflammation and things like that, and it can be very bad for you. And then it talks about, again, the arch of the hand and the forearm relating to your tension, being tension free there, and exactly what it should look like. This book is super helpful, I think, especially if you're brand new, because you want to start off playing correctly. You don't want to develop these bad habits that you end up playing and using for years and years. And then you now have to come back to a book like this because you got injured. Say you got some inflammation in your wrist, you got carpal tunnel syndrome, things like that. You want to avoid that as much as possible. So if you get this book, you'll understand exactly the anatomy of your body and how you should be playing the piano correctly, how every movement matters going up to, it literally starts at the top of your head. So it starts out with your skull, how that should be in alignment with your entire body, and it works the whole way down. It talks about your hip joint, how your feet should be, your ankles should be, how your forearm, your elbow, your shoulder, your rotator cuff, how that matters, how everything plays a part. When you play the piano, it's not just your fingers that play. A lot of people, especially newer people, have this misconception where playing the piano is all about finger strength, right? It's all about finger agility, finger mobility, and finger strength and dexterity. When in reality, as this book explains, your fingers don't have muscles. Right? So if you didn't know that, now you know. Your fingers don't have muscles, they just have tendons that connect to the muscles in your forearm. So another thing I can tell you is you have muscles in your forearm, of course, that go down and they go up through your hand. Think of it like some kind of spider web almost. It kind of breaks off and the tendons go into each of your fingers, right? And how it gets there is through a tunnel. It's an actual tunnel in your wrist. And if you just kind of, take your left hand index finger and feel around here, like the base of your palm, you're going to feel that kind of indentation right in the middle of your wrist. You'll feel a bone here, you'll feel a bone here, and then you have that indent right in the middle. That is literally where the tunnel is in your wrist that these tendons are going through. So because it's a tunnel, if you turn your wrist, like I was talking about before, and that ulnar deviation, if you turn your wrist like that, now your tendons can't get through the tunnel. They're constricted, they're all warped, and that causes problem. That's literally what causes carpal tunnel syndrome, is when you are playing the piano or anything, typing even, and you have that kind of constant turn in your wrist that's preventing those tendons from going through the tunnel. And you do that for long enough, for many hours over years, that's how you get that carpal tunnel syndrome, that inflammation. And if it gets to a certain point, there's no reversing that. So I'm bringing all that to say, get the book. You don't want to have these kind of injuries. You don't want to have these problems in the future. And besides preventing injuries, it gives tips for, coming back from injury. If you do have injury, what should you do? And it teaches you how to play without tension. And when you play without tension, not only will you not get injured, but you're also going to be able to play faster. You're going to be a lot more relaxed. You're going to be able to sound more musical. Things are going to be much more smoother, and things are going to be easier. Playing the piano will actually be easier for you if you don't have all this tension in your body. And your whole body is important. So if your head alignment is off, then everything else is going to be off. Everything has to work in sync. Everything has to be in the correct spot. And the book goes into all of this in a lot of detail. So again, it's called What Every Pianist Needs to Know About Their Body. This is what the cover looks like. It's by Thomas Miles, or by Thomas Mark. And then it also has some details for Organist by Roberta Gary and Tom Miles. So go ahead and pick that book up. It's like $10 on Amazon. And let me know what you think. Hope that helps. My name is Josh LaFleur from Late Star Piano.